you think?
Absolutely. Abolish, dismantle, get rid of, never needed before.
Do you think that we should open the borders?
I am not into immigrant policy. I work in gender equity. I'm a racial gender equity specialist. So I mostly work for women's rights, and especially the intersection of women of color and white women. So I'm here to support all of the women immigrants and all of the women migrants that are here today.
Do you teach the gender equity at a college level?
I was the last manager of gender equity for the last 2 mayors of Atlanta. So I've worked more in public policy and government work.
Like, what are some things that you can share with people about gender equity?
What have I learned about gender equity?
Yeah.
There's a femicide going on right now at the hands of Donald Trump.
What should we replace ICE with?
People of Minnesota are
maybe with immigrants that can actually help us learn how they got into the country in the most safest way possible, and how we can allow them to keep coming into this country safely and possibly. Let immigrants be in charge. Let them take over that role. Let them be in charge of Border Patrol. It's their issue, correct?
teachers.
Let them be the ones in charge.
Workers, the people who
Gotcha. How exactly would that work? Like, they come over the border and
I told you that's not the policy that I'm in.
Yeah, I was curious. Okay. You think you hear it all, and you don't. You don't.
Yeah, so that crazy bitch who was the head of DEI for 2 Atlanta mayors thinks that we should allow illegal immigrants to cross the border, let us know what the safest paths are, and then have them manage the border. That way anybody can come in, as many people as possible. This is Minneapolis. So when you guys hear about shootings, when you see when you see ICE agents with blood all over their hands because they've been brutalized by a bunch of protesters, remember who these lunatics are. Remember the transgender fucking weirdos, Antifa motherfuckers, who want immigrants to control immigration in the United States of America. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the fun stuff. I want to say this. I do think that all the noise we're hearing about immigration will eventually go away. I do think that what we'll end up seeing is, I don't know if it's a path of citizenship or like a starter pack thing. I think what we'll see eventually is that people that have been here 10, 20 years will try and find a path for them. We'll probably start doing that, I would imagine, by like spring, because you want to make all this noise go away before the election time. And so I think that that's probably something we're going to see. I think probably, I don't want to say more reasonable, but I think a more controlled path with immigration. We've shut down the border. There's a ton of criminals that we can focus our energy on while we show much better data. And the data will win in the end because people can tell when they're getting richer, when they're getting poorer, and they're going to be getting richer. Stony, too many people are not sensible and blinded beliefs. Yeah, I know. It's insanity. And when you look at the maps, we'll talk about this a little bit too, but in Minnesota, it's like there's so much red in all the rural areas, and then you get these really liberal cities that are all blue, and that's such a true story all across the country. Real quickly, though, jumping back onto economics and investing and all that fun stuff, the market started down. We had a 100% tariff threat from Donald Trump towards Mark Carney of Canada. Shortly after that, Mark Carney announced that, hey, I wasn't going to be making a deal with China before we finalize our deal in June with the USMCA. So everybody, I had some people correct my posts, community note them to let the world know that Mark Carney wasn't scared about a 100% tariff. Sure. He actually didn't plan on finalizing anything anyway. So now you guys know he wasn't scared by 100% tariffs, even though 74% of the goods that get sold out of China go to the United States. I'm sure that didn't scare him at all. I do want to talk about this, though. This is a BLS CPI inflation comparison index. It's a little bit different than the one we normally look at. The one we normally look at is 1.2% for inflation. This one is 0.51. But I do believe that this is part of what we're seeing. The Japanese yen, I don't want to say the carry trade because nobody gives a shit about the carry trade. Even if there's $200 billion, it's fucking nothing. None of that matters. But again, we had the Japanese 10-year go crazy. And there's talk of intervention today. And you could see how that slammed this thing down quite a bit. And I've been talking about this the entire time. Japan is one of our greatest allies. We will not hurt Japan. We just won't do it. We won't allow them to be hurt by the things that are going on geopolitically around the world and the pressure that's being applied. So we're going to be opening up swap lines, and we'll be doing everything that we need to do to stabilize their yen, including probably buying yen and then selling dollars, which puts pressure on the US dollar. And we can see that now. For a little bit there, I thought we were going to go higher with dollar strength, but I retract that statement. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I don't think we're going to get this little bump. I think it's going to try and test lower again. You could see it rejecting clearly off of here where it was support forever. Now it's clearly a rejection. And the government has an incentive to help Japan at the detriment of the US dollar. And I've said this before too, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But it makes sense to weaken the US dollar if you want to increase manufacturing in the United States. I've been saying this since the beginning of 2025. I don't know who this guy is. Let me get him off the screen. I've been saying this since the beginning of 2025 that we'll see the dollar weaken. That's exactly what was happening. And we're going to see more of that. We're going to see more of that this year, it looks like, because, again, we've got an incentive to help Japan. And it helps us at the same time. If you look over in the bottom right corner, you'll see that we are still finding support on the downward trend line for Bitcoin. That was support numerous times, then resistance, and now we're trying to find support. So it's not the end of the world yet. It looks like it's still going to be all right. I want to talk about this because this is the path we're headed down, guys. This is everything Trump is doing I think is great. I think the immigration stuff is ugly right now with ICE. That's it. But outside of that, I think everything we're doing is great, and I think it's going to lead to these outcomes. So Argentina breaks 27-year-old oil production record, an epic December boom. Poverty is disappearing in their country. They're producing tons of oil. And these are the kind of things that are going to happen with the United States, too. We have the only power that Canada had over us really previously. It wasn't people like, oh, but wood and all these other things we get from Canada. Dude, we have so much wood in this fucking country. We haven't been doing a good job kind of doing forest management and cutting this stuff down. We have the resources here. Anybody who's played Civilization knows you cut that shit down, you make a little bit of money. And that's what we're going to do. And the only thing they had really was oil. And oil is not a problem now because we got all that Venezuelan heavy crude. So, and then soon, I think with Iran, we'll have really good deals with them too. So I think Canada's going to be hurting. Canada's going to be hurting, guys. Mark Carney can act as tough as he fucking wants to. It doesn't matter. Everybody in Canada can have TDS. It doesn't matter. It looks like we're doing things with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent indicated that we are going to assist Alberta, if they need it, on things like swap lines as well and ensuring that they have liquidity if they decide to separate from Canada. We'll talk about that in his own words in a little while. We have Income Shark saying, we're going to go over a bunch of his posts today because I think they've been really good lately. They are actually a lot, normally. Small cap stock season continues. So he's pushing this narrative that small caps are going to do really well because they're experiencing a multi-year breakout, like a multi-decade breakout, really. And I'll just look here at the Russell. If you look, and again, I should say multi-year, that's better. But you can see where in 2021 we've just kind of been trading sideways. But honestly, I mean, small caps have barely went anywhere. If you look over here in 2015, we were at 1285, and it took a very long time to get to where we are right now. And you look at the S&P by comparison, these should be doing a lot better. But now we have launched, we have taken this base, broken out of it after 4-ish years, and now we're taking off. And I agree with him. I think small caps do really well. I think this is the time where you start looking for the little guys, and then you end up making a bunch of money off of it. And so I think people should be paying attention to small caps. And we are. Kevin Bass, famously, the United States spent far more on healthcare than any other developed country in the world. Despite this, Americans have much lower life expectancy than most other countries. This is just and then again, now 20 to 50% of healthcare spending we believe might be fraudulent. And you can see how bad we're doing. So this is just a post that says maybe we should fix this. And we will. Christopher Dungeon posted this. It says, how valuable is the biggest company in 10 years? So you can see largest market cap. You can see after the pandemic, values for companies exploded. And there was a number of reasons for this. The money printing was a huge one. 40% of the money that existed since the country was created was printed after the pandemic. But it's not just that. After that came tech evaluations that just exploded because of AI. And so Elon Musk put in 10 years, maybe as high as $100 trillion. I can tell you which company he's talking about. But when we're looking at companies that are a little over 4, not quite 5 trillion, and then you look at it being maybe 100 trillion, he's not making a small claim there. Also, I want to reassure people about polling data. Who handled the economy better? There's actually a ton of these different polls. 64% say Trump. There's other polls that we'll look at in a little bit too that are actually really, really positive. But we'll cover those when we get to them. Let me see. Angel said, Jesse, doing well, ready to get some warm weather, melt the 6 inches of sleet away. You have 6 inches of sleet. Stony, morning, guys. Morning, Jesse. Let me see here. Good morning from Texas. Stony again. Too many people are not sensible, blinded by their belief, and not finding the middle ground. I totally agree with that. AKA New York City. Yeah, you got New York City. You got Mom Donnie, who promised that he was not going to mess with the police department. But now he has cut back funding of overtime hours. They're already short-staffed. So there's violence across the city. The best thing you can do, just go ahead and lower the amount of overtime that the police have so that it can get more violent. And then again, just last week, he announced that he would be giving, I think it was daycare services and then again, medical services for illegal immigrants. So that's wonderful. We should do that. We should just import another 1 billion people into this country and then go bankrupt. That sounds wonderful. So you're right. Totally reasonable people. JT, good morning from Taiwan, land of the skyscraper free climbers. Dude, that was crazy. I'm glad that guy didn't die on national TV, but he made it all the way up. That's absolutely insane. I don't know how anybody does something like that, let alone as calmly as he did. Maytag, good morning. Hit the like for Jesse. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Echo, RS6, good morning from Seattle. Go Seahawks. You know what I love about this group? I love that there's people from all over the U.S. and around the world. Let's keep going. We got Unseen One. He says, meanwhile, down in the States under Trump, the U.S. has inflation of 1.2%. And yeah, 0.5 if you're looking at the BLS CPI. But it says breaking, new data shows Canada has the highest food inflation in the G7 at 6.2%. Pretty pathetic. Canada, again, is fucked. And speaking of Trump being right, I love this. I love that we have the German chancellor. I thought this guy was going to be horrific, but he seems to be getting to the right places. He said, destroyed growth with insane bureaucracy and paperwork. Germany, quote, and Europe have wasted incredible potential. We have become the world champion of overregulation. I would say illegal immigration, too. So you got a couple problems to fight off. Jumping topics. This is fucking insane. So this was last week. What day was this on? The 23rd. Shanghai silver premium hit a record 12, jumping 50% overnight. 50%. China's momentum kamikazes are bankrupting the country's solar industry. This is fucking insane. You can pay a premium. You can see how 2024 got a little bit of a spike, but this is going all the way back to 2009. And the amount of money that people are paying in China for silver is frightening. And again, it's destroying their silver or their solar industry because the costs are like increasing solar panels by 30%, add all the tariffs on there that countries are putting on, at least the United States for sure, on solar panels. And it's just it's devastating to China. And this is a problem. If you have a country, you don't see this happening in America. And also, guys, Michael Howell agrees with me. We recently suggested there is no great debasement trade, rather than China is the main driver for soaring gold and silver prices. In this report, we dig deeper and examine the relative performance of gold versus Bitcoin. So again, he agrees with what I've been telling you. The man who follows 90 plus metrics in global liquidity is saying that gold and silver are being driven up by China. They're the ones pumping your bags. And I think that's great if your bags are getting pumped. All the boomers that waited 13 fucking years to make any kind of money, I'm happy for you. But I just want to caution you when you see premiums that are 12x, that is frightening as fuck. This screams China's falling apart. And when we talk about China falling apart, I want to mention something. Well, we can look at it a little bit later, but they are experiencing some absolute insanity right now in regard to their military. All the top brass outside of one other person in Xi Jinping have been ghosted. And when they ghost these people, guys, they take out their entire family and like first cousins, maybe into second if they have affiliation with the family. They disappear them all. And they've gotten rid of almost everybody in the military. That's not a great sign whatsoever. Whatsoever. And again, I put actually gold didn't do anything for 13 years, but let's look here. So this is Mark Moss's post. Grab some water here real quick too. He said, gold bulls celebrating BTC's underperformance. Don't want to mention this. After 10 trillion plus of stimulus and 9% CPI, gold did nothing for almost 4 years. So it's got a nice little catch-up trade. So again, what he was talking about is we printed 40% of the money supply that ever existed in this country's history. Gold went sideways while other assets, risk-on assets, went up a bunch. And it's had its run. But I do agree that we're coming near the end of that. This is a super dangerous time to get really excited about gold. But I wanted to correct it a little bit. And I said, actually, it took 12 to 13 years of sideways to down chop. I mean, again, this thing, when it went parabolic the last time, guys, it went over 1900 and everybody got really excited for that. That was in 2011. And then it went down to the thousands. So it lost 50% of its value from this time frame in 2011 to 2015. 4 years, 50% losses on something that's supposed to be a safe haven. So you can see what's going to happen if people start to get excited about the economy this year. You're going to get something like this off of wherever it peaks. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. Let's keep going. Sam Chorus. This shows, oh yeah, no, we already looked at that one. Let me check chat here. Alex Garcia, yes, sir. I am so tired of seeing metals run. I'm sure. When your metals are running and you don't own them, and silver's got like what, a 600% increase or 500% increase, dude. Silver's chart looks parabolic as fuck. And I know people just want to be like, this is going to keep going on forever. But I do think that we've got legitimate copper shortages that are going to be coming up in the years ahead. But I want to reiterate that something that is going up by the minute, that is up 534%, the demand has not increased 534% or anywhere near that. Anywhere near this being normal. I don't know. I think copper can still go. Because that's going to be something that we require for so many things within the hardware that we're building right now and all the shortages that we have. So I think copper can still go. But if you mine a bunch of copper, you get silver as a byproduct. So that's not super great. If you mine for gold, you get silver as a byproduct. Silver is just literally a byproduct. But this is a parabolic chart, guys. This is a blow-off chart. I'll show you some stuff on gold in a little bit here. But there are some major moves. And again, I think, right here, I guess. I said gold is up 250% in 2 years. I said the monthly RSI is over 95, the highest level since 1968. The history before that gets fuzzy in the fucking 30s and 40s and when the country was founded. So this is we're basically going to be nearing the highest monthly RSI in history soon. But hey, if you own gold, you think that's going to go on forever. Even though analysts' price predictions from people that I follow that have been bullish on gold are between $5,400 and $6,000. That is 5 to 17% higher than where we are today. Even if it goes way up here, that's 17% more. So you guys can think all you want that you're going to make another 300% on gold or another 1,000% on silver, but you're gonna feel like, I don't know, man. You're gonna feel like you're sucking on a chode in like 1 year when you realize that you're a bag holder in metals and you should have bought Bitcoin. Again, gold, almost $36 trillion market cap. Bitcoin is 1.7. Silver went up in a week, almost the entirety of Bitcoin's market cap. The entire thing. So, I don't know, guys. Believe what you want to believe. Finally wearing a proper shirt. It's actually a Cybertruck shirt. Got it from a friend of mine. One that used to be my friend. He no longer likes me. He thinks I'm a Nazi. So, because of my political beliefs. Alex Garcia, JT, I agree, but we've been saying that since gold was at 4,000. But what does it matter, dude? What fucking difference really is that? So I'm up 30%. I showed a post about this. I'm up 30% since the beginning of the year. You talked about what level did you talk about? We've been saying that since 4,000. Okay, all right, cool. Let's look at 4,000. Let's look at 4,000 on gold. So 4,000 gold, that's over here, right? That's when we said, hey, I think we're nearing a top. So yeah, you got 24, 25%. I'm higher than that this year. So again, if you, and we're talking about, this isn't me. I'm talking about bullish fucking analysts like Yardini and, oh God, I can't remember all their names. But people that have been, that thought 5,400 was the end price or 6,000 for the entire fucking year. So if you've made 250% over the last 2 years, or you got into it in August of 2025 and you made like 100 fucking %, I'm just saying, which one do you think is going to do better in the next year? Bitcoin or gold? By the end of 2026, do you think that gold is going to have a higher return percentage than Bitcoin? I mean, again, I get that people get recency bias and they give up and they're very emotional. I get all that stuff. I've seen it so fucking much over the years that I've been doing this. And I've been a part of it, right? People love to chase. But do you really want the next 5 to 17%? Or do you want to get into Bitcoin, something that can probably easily double in the next year from where it's at? 180,000 I don't think is really even hard. I can tell you which one I believe in, and my beliefs don't change because something else did better for a little bit of time. Peter Navarro. I don't normally love him, but this is something nobody's talking about, and I think it's important. He said, America has over 500,000 cattle ranches, but just 4 companies control 85% of U.S. beef processing. Some of these are Chinese, but 2 major players are effectively controlled by Brazil. The bottleneck squeezes ranchers, jacks up prices, and sends profits offshore. President Trump ordered DOJ to act. More here. So they are working on this, which is what I wanted to point out. It's kind of important too. Do any economies want gold and silver to go up? China did. But they have problems with that too. Again, they're crushing their population. They're crushing their population. And then they're fucking up a bunch of business because, again, you can't have a bunch of precious metals that are required for the production of things go up a ton at an unsustainable rate when you're already getting tariffed by the world, not just us, but the world. So I think that could be problematic for them. All right, let's look real quickly, though. I wanted to show you something here. Feeder cattle. So one of the reasons we were talking about that, and again, eggs looks like it's up a lot, 87%. It's 74 cents a carton, so ignore that. But you can see feeder cattle is really the only thing that's went up a lot, right? Eggs are down 88, almost 89%. Salmon's down 22. Poultry down 13. Beef, it says 1.14. Lean hogs are up. Live cattle. So cattle is it. And what we're talking about is fixing this problem. And a lot of it, I think, is just price fixing. And that's what Navarro is alluding to. Real quick here, I might just run to the restroom so I don't have to do it later. So I'm going to pull something
Market
up.
volatility.
I'm going to give you guys...
How to protect your portfolio and navigate buying the dip. Charles has critical insight for investors on making...
both commercials. So I'm going to mute here. I might just get you on one of these for a second. Let me see. Squawk's back.
President Trump
I'll be right back. Give me 1
highlighted
minute.
housing policies aimed at expanding home ownership during a speech at Davos, with home affordability a major focus for this administration. Joining us right now to walk us through the latest headlines is Jake Krimmel. He is Realtor senior economist. And Jake, let's talk a little bit about what the president has said. Most recently, this idea that institutional investors won't be allowed to buy up lots of residential properties. How effective are these policies in terms of trying to bring down costs?
Well, I think that unfortunately there'll be sort of limited effectiveness. So although institutional investors sound very bad, they're banning them from purchasing single-family homes is really going to have a limited impact on housing supply and affordability in the long run. So, although this does sound like a big boogeyman for the housing market and for the supply shortage, it's really more of a red herring.
I mean, there was other things that the administration has done. He did say earlier this month that he wanted Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to buy up about $200 billion in mortgage-backed securities to try and bring those rates down. He's been very vocal about pressuring the Federal Reserve to actually lower interest rates overall, with this being a big part of the reason behind it. And yet we're still talking about the average age for a first-time homeowner rising to 40 years old at this point.
Right. So there's no doubt the housing market is facing some serious headwinds, and there's also no doubt that the president and the administration.
That actually is kind of an interesting topic, but I can scan it later. Do you have any updates on ETH BMNR? I've been averaging down. I do like BMNR. I was buying it. We can look at charts in a little bit. It could drop further if we get something weird. I'll just give you a quick oversight. But oversight. I'll just give you a quick view. So you can see here kind of the range that we've been trading in. We could drop down to the bottom of the range. I mean, it could get ugly and even go to 21 if things got weird. I don't think they're doing that. I think if anything, we're probably looking for good things to happen this week. The reason I say that is, again, the 100% tariff thing. We know that that's going to be a non-issue. We know that the Greenland thing is resolved. We know that we've got ships sitting outside of Iran waiting to invade there. So there's probably a little bit of concern there. And then, again, I think the biggest thing for today is the Japanese yen. I think that's the thing people are really focused on. But our calendar isn't that crazy right now, guys. Today, for economic data, we've got, again, some Chicago Fed national activity is probably interesting. You can see November, you can see durable goods, and you can see Dallas Fed manufacturing that comes in later around 9:30. So we get a few things in the morning at 7:30, but not a really heavy economic calendar. We do have Powell, I think, talking this week on a Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. And we start to get more tomorrow. But honestly, a lot of the stuff I'm looking at is probably going to be good. Oh, I've got to say this. It's probably the Japanese yen carry trade concerns. And then, or just Japan's yen spending out of control is probably a better way to describe it now. But we also are probably looking at things for the government shutdown. So we had the percent of chance of a government shutdown because they're using the ICE thing as a weapon, talking about defunding ICE now and how they're not going to pass the budget if we don't defund ICE. So there's some weird shit going on. I think the government shutdown narrative could be a little ugly for a bit. I do think, though, I'm hearing a lot more Republicans, people that were a no before, talking about passing the SAVE Act. So I think they want it, and I think they want it bad. That's the voter ID, all the good stuff, right? I think they want it bad because they know that it's a requirement, because we can see just rampant cheating across the entirety of the United States, but really, really focused in blue states and in very liberal cities going back years. And so now that I think that it's becoming clear that there was tons of cheating going on, and even with all that cheating in 2024, Trump won the election. And so I think that we're going to see that get passed, and I think if anything, will end the zombie filibuster to do it, which would be great. How do you feel about government shutdown looming? There you go. That's how I feel about it. I think this one, economically, it doesn't really matter. We're not going to have the issues we had last time. We had full funding last time of everybody on food stamps. So that's through the end of 2025, I believe. So there's no concerns about people not getting all their government handouts. Maybe some of it, but not all of it. So I think that's going to relieve some pressure from the Democratic side. But I think the Republican side eventually is just going to crack because we want the SAVE Act, and the zombie filibuster makes no sense. And I'm seeing more and more people start to come to those terms as the Overton window shifts, I think, a little bit with Elon Musk's help. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm not as worried about the government shutdown. Goham, did MSTR buy any BTC? Yes, they did. I don't know how much yet. MSTR invested 2,900 Bitcoin. So pretty light compared to the last time, but it doesn't matter. They're offsetting. MicroStrategy is offsetting all the Bitcoin ETF outflows with their purchases alone. So I'm not worried about that. Yeah, so right here, I told you many times we won't let anything happen to Japan. They're one of our greatest allies. Plus, we want a weaker dollar so that people are encouraged to buy American manufactured goods, one of the primary objectives of this administration. So what does it say? The Fed is preparing to sell U.S. dollars and buy Japanese yen for the first time in the century. I told you literally that this was going to happen. The New York Fed has already done rate checks, which is the exact step taken before real currency intervention. That means the U.S. is preparing to sell dollars and buy yen. This is rare, and historically, when this happens, global markets surge. Did you hear that part? Japan is under heavy pressure. The yen has been weak for years. Japanese bond yields are not multi-decade highs, or are at multi-decade highs, and the Bank of Japan is still hawkish. Together, this creates stress not just for Japan, but for global markets. That is why central banks are now taking the situation seriously. So today, guys, the 10-year, I just want to talk about this because I don't think anybody's seen this yet. It is plummeted like a fucking stone. So when I say that, just last week, I mean, we were at 4.31. And so we're kind of falling off a cliff. Looks a little bear flaggy, and I think we're going to finally start to get, again, that kind of prolonged dip that goes in for a longer period of time. But I'm happy to see that dropping. With this intervention, it will alleviate stress, and the stress being alleviated, again, should help markets. We also there's tons of margin being used right now, guys, and I said I was going to be dialing away from that. I'll talk about that further, too. So I'm going to be doing some sales. So I made over 30% upside in my SoFi account this year so far. And I am going to be selling probably, I think it was like 150,000 in positions because I used a little bit of margin. And I just want to wipe it out, but we'll look at that in a little bit here. I won't read all this. It goes kind of into the history of some of these interventions and how things worked out in the past. So if you want to read it, definitely check it out from Bull Theory here. Again, I posted this weekend, January 23rd, 3 days ago. I guess it was Friday maybe, that this is going to be key level of support for Bitcoin. And we're still holding it, at least as of writing this right now. Could we break down further? We could. Somebody could say that this is a bear flag too. I just believe that the fundamentals of what are happening right now are going to keep us from dropping. But could we drop? Could we go into the 50s? Anything is fucking possible. I don't have options dedicated towards Bitcoin or crypto. And I'm getting rid of my margin today. Again, and I look at it this way. Margin is borrowing debt that amplifies your returns to the upside or down, right? It's a form of leverage. You shouldn't use it that much. I wrote it longer probably than I wanted to. I should have sold it, I think, on Friday. But I'm going to just wipe it out because I don't want to. I want to eliminate that timing. And I'm super happy that I made 30% in January already. I'm not going to be greedy this time around. I'm going to take a little bit off the table that is borrowed money anyway and give it back to the house. Gnome. Any interesting mineral mining plays you're looking at? I was looking at some today. I don't remember if it was US. There's a mineral play that was up 35% in pre-market. I don't know what it was all for, but it's crazy. Again, though, I think these trades are getting kind of old, guys. This is something that could still do well for a while, but I just wanted to jump in here. So this is FS Insight. You can see energy is just batting 1,000 as far as beating. Let's see, beating percentage reported. Energy 14%, financials 32%. Technology 11, basic materials 4, communications. So we're seeing a lot of these. They're already doing well, and I don't want to chase the thing that's done really well that everybody's talking about how much money they've made, because that's never turned out well for me. It certainly didn't work that way when I was getting excited because I finally figured out why the math is good for these Bitcoin holding companies, and not all of them. But the ones that get the momentum, the MicroStrategies, I think BMNR is going to do this for Ethereum too again, Metaplanet, stuff like that. They do well because they use leverage or perpetuals. They have a dividend they cut. They assume that Bitcoin can grow by 25 to 30% CAGR. And if you do that and you have a dividend that isn't insane and you have payout and you have some kind of cash position or revenue to be able to offset that to where you can pay the dividend, depending on how you're doing it. And then at the same time, when you have a premium and like you're getting a 30% premium on the stock versus your Bitcoin holdings, you sell more stock into that. In order to be able to pocket the difference. And that works out really well for you because people are overpaying for that point. and you're able to take that and then cash some of that out, and then have a bunch more Bitcoin. And the shareholders do benefit from that too. The ones that hold do benefit from it too. If you looked at MetaPlanet or MicroStrategy when they went over 1,000% in a very short period of time, even higher, you can see how the shareholders benefited from that. But again, if Bitcoin's going to be down, they're going to get crushed. They're an amplifier of returns. So, but I love those. I love the MetaPlanets and stuff like that have gotten, pretty crushed. I will look to buy more BMNR and maybe MetaPlanet, since it's a much smaller entity. Maybe even SWC. I might even just nibble on just the smallest amount of SWC to lower my cost average, because I sold out of it higher before it dropped really hard for about half of it, and maybe I want to lower that cost basis a little bit and just take a little bit of risk as things move. But anyway, look in here. Evan, Stock Market News. He put prediction markets currently say there's an 85% chance that SpaceX goes public in 2026. Just a reminder, all the companies that are talking about doing this, don't buy OpenAI. CoreWeave is up 8%. What's the news? Got to be news on that move. That seems to be helping Cypher. Cypher is down 0.11% now in pre-market. Iron is down 0.49. We do need to look at charts today, guys. I haven't done a good job pulling those up. I will try and do that near the end. CleanSpark down 0.66. So the market's coming back. Tesla down 0.8% in pre-market. Still doing some back testing, not in the breakout zone yet. The stock market's down a little bit, but yeah, it looks like at least the hyperscalers are enjoying a little bit of this morning. Nvidia, $2 billion of CoreWeave, bought $2 billion. Do you know what the deal looked like? Here, I'll try and pull it up in a second. That's interesting though. That space, guys, the AI space. Oh God, I might even pull some of my sales that I've got queued up for this morning, because I just don't want to sell too much of it. Go ham. James Invest nibbled on some Sol at 118 for first time he's bought anything in crypto. I think that's probably going to turn out well for him. Just a reminder, January 23rd, guys, almost across the board beats. Global composite PMI, manufacturing services, all beats, all in expansion territory above 50 and growing. Michigan consumer sentiment final was the only thing that didn't, or I should say, no, that beat too. It wasn't green, but it beat 56.4 versus a consensus of 54. So 5-year inflation expectations were lower versus consensus and forecast. Consumer expectations, 57. So versus 55 previously. These are great numbers. Current conditions, 55.4 versus 52.4. All this stuff, all the datas are looking good, guys. Am I going to do Tesla earnings? I don't know. There's so many good people that already do that. But maybe. I want to do more of that. Other earnings calls that are less reported, I definitely will be. Maybe I will for Tesla, though. Maybe. We'll see. It's just there's so many people that do that. There's like 1 billion channels for Tesla earnings. And they do such a great job. I feel like I'd just be redundant. Gnome space is super interesting. Danny Chang has been showing very bullish charts on. Yeah, there's a lot of space, and I think there's so many companies that aren't even close to profitable. But when you're looking at something like space or some of these others, you're really just following market momentum. I'd rather be in the people that are providing the data centers and energy connections with AI. I still think Iron and Cypher and CleanSpark and some of these others are just really exciting. Versus like space, because there's so many. I mean, you're going against SpaceX. What the fuck? I struggle with stuff like that, dude. It's like, to me, that's like betting on Uber. It's like you could bet on things that are smaller caps, and again, you can make tons of money. I don't want to shit on that. Like, there's so many people that have made money off of Rocket Lab and these others, and if it's out of a lot of those, I mean, Rocket Lab looks pretty good, but it's one of those things where these companies are going to struggle. Profitability isn't going to happen like forever. Let's see where Rocket Lab is at. Let's actually check some of these. You just got me interested in this. Just for a second. Oh, I might have to let me drop this down for a second. I might have to sign in again. It's a little weird that way. ASTS has done me well. Oh, I'm sure, dude. And again, however you make money, I just think like quantum, when we're talking about things like, if we talk about quantum or we talk about rockets, I kind of get the same vibe. It's like you're investing in the future for sure. Oh, that's Rocket Mortgage. Let me pull this back up. I got the wrong one on here. I wanted to get Rocket Lab. And I am going to use, guys, Earnings Hub. I really like Earnings Hub. I'm trying to, again, I want to get, God, can I type today? I want to get better at earnings reports. I feel like that's the area where I've really fucked up lately. I think getting so centered on timing with Bitcoin this last year really fucked me up. And then being in options really fucked me up. And then not doing due diligence, actually paying attention to all the earnings calls that really matter for the things I'm trying to track. And so I want to start doing that. So again, Tesla's going to be coming Wednesday, looks like. And then it looks like SoFi on Friday. I don't know if I'll pay it. I might pay attention to that one too. But there's so many of these that I really want. Next month is going to get busy because, again, like Palantir's February 2nd. I don't think I'll do that call, but I'll definitely watch it, probably with a mitt. And then SMCI, Enphase. I definitely got to check out Enphase. I don't care so much about SMCI. I've got options contracts. I don't really give a shit about them. Enphase, I want to know, though. I'm going to be following them consistently. And then MicroStrategy or Iron, I'm probably going to go with Iron. MicroStrategy I can watch later. So I'll probably stream Enphase on that Tuesday on the 3rd. And then Thursday I'll be doing Iron. And then Red Cat I'll be doing. Clean Spark I'll be doing. Don't know about Robinhood. Why is RCAT listed twice? I'm not sure. But again, Zeta, there's just a bunch of these coming up. I am going to start doing earnings calls, and I'm going to start doing them consistently. Iron moved their earnings too. Oh, okay. So maybe some of this needs to be updated. But I do want to get much more invested in that kind of stuff. And again, I wanted to go over here. I just wanted to look like at Rocket Lab. So again, this is a great example of a company making greater revenues. And I love that. I love that for them. But when the net income is super red and the cash flows are super red, what are they? Free cash flow, they're burning 69 million a quarter that they made 155. Operating expenses. R&D is where they need to be pumping money into. But again, they're diluting shareholders consistently. Their expenses are going up. Their revenue is good. But the question is, can they make a profit? And I don't know. They probably can. But it's just such a tough space. SpaceX is going to start dominating so much in the years ahead. When Starship starts going up, it's going to do so much more of a payload than what Rocket Lab is able to do. But again, there's some people that won't want to use SpaceX. It's tied to Elon. So there is an industry there, I think, at least for a while. Iron moved their earnings too. Iron is going to impress on earnings. Jesse, did you see the new Iron CEO comp package? I did not. Oh, no, I did. Yeah, crazy fucking numbers. You're talking about the stock dollar amounts versus what the bonuses are and how high those stock dollar amounts go. It's fucking insane. RCAT. I like RCAT. That is Red Cat. That is a drone company. I do like the company. I own the company. I like the stock. Again, we'll be looking at more charts here in a little bit, but they broke out. So if you look here, it's like an ascending triangle. One of my favorite technical setups. I love the ascending triangle so much. And you can see where it is here. The measured move of what we should see is almost perfect to the .618. So over the short term, and I'm talking like maybe before summer, I expect this thing to double. And I know that sounds insane. It's got a 1.92. But again, this is like, I think defense, when you look at going from like almost $1 trillion to adding another $500 billion to defense spending, these small companies, especially like drone manufacturers, I think are going to be some of the most exciting. And so I like this play. I don't own enough of it. I think it's like 1% of my portfolio, maybe 2, probably 1. But I like that. I like Kraken. That's an Anduril play. It also has a beautiful chart that was even stronger. It's been running, though, so hard. It was 29 cents in September of 2023, and now it is $6 and change. But this is an Anduril-based supplier. I like them, too, a lot. 400 billion market cap, loading on Kraken. Yeah, I think it's a good one, dude. I don't think you're doing anything wrong there. But yeah, so like Rocket Lab, I like Rocket Lab. It's a $47 billion market cap already, though. And I just think that's a lot for a company that can't make money. You know what I mean? I do. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. They've got a backlog. They can keep improving on tech. There's probably going to be another competitor to SpaceX. Seems like this could be one. But I just think the space sector is just really crowded. I'm not as excited about that as like people that are supplying energy to the grid. Look at the bottom right, guys. You can probably barely see it, but we are getting a little more bouncy. Maybe I should zoom in more. We are still, again, finding that support on peak volumes over here that go back a ways, well into 2024. I mean, these are volumes that go back probably at least until like three or 4 months almost. And we're above peak volumes, and we're perfectly above this line where we needed to find support. So I still think I could be right on this one. We'll see. Elias said, I just can't figure out why Donald Trump seems so intent on making sure that Mark Carney and the liberals are reelected. I have no idea. It's a complete mystery. So that's sarcasm. That is sarcasm. And it says here, Canadians are choosing to start businesses elsewhere. Canada. So look, more recently here, and this is 2024. The United States was 48%. So that trend was already starting. Imagine what it is now with tariff concerns, with just everything that's going on with Canada. Alberta's probably leaving. And I think that probability is like 80 to 90%. So I probably need to check out the betting markets. But a lot of people are moving. Companies for sure. And when companies move, people come. So I put CEO interest for investing in the United States dwarfs that of any other country, while China has negative foreign direct investment for over 2 years. Always follow the money if you want true signal. The United States and India have increased in popularity among global CEOs as destinations for international development. Source, PwC's 29th Global CEO Survey shows that the USA, and for 2026, 35% of CEOs around the fucking world want to build in the United States of America. Next comes the UK with 13%, which is actually a shocking figure. I don't know why anybody would be there. And India is in there too at 13, and Germany is there. So all three of those tie for the next. All of them combined equate to what the United States is looking at. And then mainland China, it says 11%. I can't imagine who these fucking morons are. And then there's the rest of the world, right? But very fascinating how strong we are in that. And then again, just, I don't mean to shit on Canadians if you're from Canada. I actually love you guys. I think Canadian conservatives are some of the best people on earth because they got to deal with a lot of shit. It's like a worse version of the United States. But look at this. This is just so hilarious to me. Very horrible image. Real GDP per capita 1995 to now. And what we're looking at here is you can see where Trudeau got elected, and then you can see what happened to the GDP of Canada. And it's just, look at how far behind they've fallen from the United States. It's really sad. And, I want you to hear this. So this is Kevin Hassett. He's talking about tariffs and talking the truth. I don't think people love to say that tariffs, yeah, I can talk about backed 1 second, that tariffs are something that just the consumer bears. But I just want you to listen to Kevin Hassett tell you why that's just bullshit.
Interesting to dive into the economics of why they're effective. That if you think that U.S. consumers are going to bear the tariffs, then they wouldn't care, the foreign governments. But if they think that, like, the Chinese have inelastic supply to the U.S., so they're going to just keep dumping their stuff no matter what, then they really, really care about the tariffs. And so the fact that countries move so much when the president threatens tariffs says something about, like, who's bearing the tariff, right? If they're really upset about it, making lots of moves because of the president's tariff threats, that it means that their people who study it know that it's not the U.S. consumers that bear it. And if you look at the CPI,
it may just mean that the US consumer's not going to buy from them anymore.
Right.
And that's if you don't have a market to sell into because you've been priced out of that market.
Yeah, they might buy from the U.S. instead. And that's something that we've seen, actually, right, that the president brags about the trade deficit going down so much. So it is true that it advantages U.S. producers some. But again, inflation, there were a lot of predictions about inflation going up to the 3s and the 4s because of the tariffs. And the 3-month moving average at annual rate right now is like 1.5.
So yeah, just again, the tariffs, they're bearing the brunt. That's why they care. Look at this. I've got this like shitting on Canada corner. I apologize. It's not my intent. Canada per capita economic growth laggard for 10 years. So Canada, 0.5%, United States, 20.7. We're getting ready to accelerate. They're getting worse. So again, just who has the power right now when it comes to a trade relationship between the United States and Canada? I want to clearly say it's us. Bears sound smart, especially when they predict the great financial crisis. Again, Michael Burry was one of the key people. There were better ones that predicted the great financial crisis and that were a part of the movie. So The Big Short. So because of that, he's just got to be smart, right? I said, but if they predicted the great financial crisis another 50 times since 2008, which I don't know, it might be more than that now for Michael Burry, you might want to turn them off and try and find real signal. Again, this guy told you to sell in 1/31 of 2023. That year, I made over 600% in my portfolio. And he told you to sell. And he's pretty much been the same ever since. And he's also telling you that, Nvidia is a bubble and that all these things are bubbles because of the depreciation schedule of the hardware. He just knows nothing about anything. And trust me, depreciation schedules for hardware, I know all about. I literally built a mining facility in the room that I'm sitting in and then had to move it to a warehouse because it was so fucking hot. I was melting snow in the middle of winter in the Midwest. When it was 0 degrees out, I had to have an egress window open in my fucking basement to let the heat out that I was blowing from the room that I'm sitting in. So I know about depreciating schedules for graphics cards and hardware equipment and just how fucked up things can get. But he's just so wrong about his views. And it's because he doesn't understand technology. And that's a problem. You better understand technology in this new age, guys. You better. And if you want to find out more about the coolest technology, Jordy Visser is your guy. He's old. He's older than me. But boy, does that guy embrace technology and artificial intelligence and everything that comes with it. Very smart dude. Love him. Melissa, Carney said Canada thrives, but again, just another way to look at it. I like the other one better. It shows the disparity even more. I'm done shitting on Canada. Let's move on. Sorry, you Canadians. There's a lot of you, actually. I think like the second largest country of people that follow me are Canadians, so I apologize. But angry Canadian conservative here. Hey, Jay. Yeah, sorry, bro. You guys are getting fucked. But hey, move to Alberta. And that way you can just transition to America. It's going to look like a really fucked up map when we give Canada Minnesota. And then we take Alberta. But I think it's going to work out better for everybody. Let's just be real. All right. MT Mac, I'm buying iron and Cypher dip, rebuilding my bags. I'm probably going to be selling some today, and that sucks. But I've made so much money off of it, and I need to. I want to reduce margin. I'm trying to be really, really smart. Margin is dangerous, just like options are arguably worse. They are worse. But margin, if you don't know what you're doing, man, you could get fucked so hard because then you end up, if you take margin, a lot of the times people do it because you'll only have 25% deposit or like maintenance on it or 50% maintenance, which lets you leverage while buying the dip. Well, you got to realize you're amplifying the returns to the upside and down. So if you borrow too much margin, a 35% drawdown could literally wipe out your entire fucking account, right? So like you just, it could be even less than that. And so you just, you got to be smart with stuff like that, guys. You just got to just be smart. Only time I use margin is for selling puts on stocks I want to own, basically printing. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, it's just, again, people don't think about risk enough. They just get excited because they see that they can buy more of something if they use margin. And you could just destroy yourself, just like options, just like so many other things. Like using leverage, like literally a multiplier, like 5x leverage or 20x leverage or some insane thing that people were doing in the crypto world. And then they were doing it on shit coins. Oh my God. Echo, I just got back from Whistler. It was epic. Goham, I heard Mark Carney owns businesses. Yeah, none of them are registered in Canada. Yeah, dude, he actually made a bunch of money off of a recent deal with the United States. So him and Trump go way back. They're gonna be just fine. They're gonna figure out deals. But again, I think Trump likes having him in power because he can bitch slap him a lot. And then all the TDS people again are picking Carney because they hated Trump so much. I think next time they might like Pierre Poilievre or maybe some of these others. Jesse, I really like a lot of the pivots you've made in your port going into 2026. I'm glad to see it's paying off. Yeah, me too, dude. And the thing is, I will do really well if Bitcoin does well because I think these hyperscaler miner plays can benefit from Bitcoin going up while the demand for the energy and the AI connections for the data centers continue to go up. So I'm stupid fucking excited about that kind of play. And then again, getting the treasury companies for cheap right now where they're down like 80%, 70% if you're MicroStrategy. I don't hate that either, dude. I don't hate it either. All right, the narratives people are feeding to you about the U.S. collapsing are a lie. Foreign holdings of U.S. treasuries. How many of you have heard that everybody's selling the U.S., it's the death of the dollar, nobody trusts our markets anymore? Well, the bond market is like one of the best ways to understand whether people trust your country anymore and your ability to repay its debts in the future and the direction that it's taking. And albeit foreign countries have lowered their reserves, and they've done that for reasons, right? Like they let's say they're scared, they're a foreign adversary, and they're scared that we're going to be able to confiscate and freeze their funds in the future. They don't want that, so they've got to reduce their treasury size. But private individuals are purchasing, or are purchasing massive amounts, and that number is growing since 2022, 2023, right? So it's just up and to the right. So just remember, people haven't given up on the United States. They very much believe in it. The smart ones. And the smart money are usually in the bond market. That's the conservative money. So anyway, just very exciting. I think people don't realize how good that is. I already talked about the silver premium. Oh yeah, here, margin debt. So again, China's margin debt. Margin debt in China is at record levels going back to 2012. The United States is worse. This is why I'm reducing my margin. And don't get me wrong, this actually could be a sign that we're getting ready to explode higher. Oh, we do have some data. 1 second, guys. We need to do a shift real quick. Let me just see. I think we have data. Got Rick Spantelli. He doesn't come on too often. Why are we not coming up?
Are doing, we'll say, creative things to try to tackle these issues in the short run. And
here we go. 1 second.
It's Alaska. Adventure is part of the job description.
All right. He's probably coming back.
Who came for
I'm
a
going to
year
leave
or
this
two.
here, and then I'm going to go back over here. All right. So he's probably coming back in a second, but I do think we're getting some data that's coming out. Wait. I see him, though. Damn it. What is going on? Squawk box. Let me try this again. It doesn't seem like it's... Let me just refresh here.
Put good orders, non-defense
There we go.
aircraft,
Okay, 1
a
second.
proxy for what we would expect. That wild up 16.5% that we had in May of last year. And if we strip out transportation, it's still strong, up 0.5%. That 0.2 higher than what we would expect when we stripped out transportation. That would equal August of last year. Find a higher number. You're looking at July of 25 when we were up 0.9%. Now let's look at capital good orders, non-defense ex-aircraft, a proxy for capital spending, up 0.7. That's more than double what we were looking for. That would be the best level since it was up 1% in September of last year. And finally, let's switch from orders to shipments, expecting up 0.2, double that, up 0.4. That would equal, well, actually, up 0.4 is comping to last month. We were up 0.8. In a way, it's the weakest since it was down 0.1 in August, which really shows you shipments have picked up.
I have no idea why they don't show the fucking charts on here when Rick is talking. He's just like 0.2 and 4 that better than consensus, lower than the 3 and the 4s, and like why wouldn't you fucking show the charts at the same time? It would make all of that so much better for people's understanding, especially like a long-term chart of where we are and where we're heading.
What's the big news of the day, the week, maybe
do.
the month, maybe the year? I call it the fiat currency fiasco. What's going on in Japan is by far, without a doubt, the biggest story. We continue to see verbiage that looks as though maybe the Bank of Japan would
Iron is now positive.
Play into the FX
Cypher's
markets
close.
And prop it up. And that has caused a nice rally in the yen. The dollar now at the lowest level since Nov 11 on a closing basis of last year. The euro yen, which is a 3-decade-plus high, well, the euro has slipped to levels we haven't seen since December 18th of last year. And if you look at the JGB, the Japanese government bond 10-year, it's hovering just below 2.25. It had its highest yield close at 235. That was on the 20th of January. So we've seen the rates ease
All right,
back.
my head hurts.
Many like to point to the 40-year, the 50-year. Trust me, they trade by appointment. You want to continue to pay attention to the 10-year.
Summarize it
and
up.
the reason I call it the fiat fiasco, this isn't really about dollar debasement. Get out of the politics. This is about 250% debt to GDP in Japan, and what are they doing?
340 for China, 110 for here.
Play out in a lot of different trades today. Thank you, Rick. Folks, by the way.
All right, that's good enough for that. I love Rick. He's a good guy. But yeah, margin debt is really, really high, and I don't like this. Again, margin debt was at peaks here in 2007 too, and then we had a financial collapse. It doesn't have to be that. You can see how margin debt over here got the highest, and then actually 2022 was brutal too. So that was another good example. But there's definitely times where when you're getting to record levels, you can see how it grows no matter what while you're going up too. But eventually it marks its top and starts to roll over. And again, I just don't. 30% in a month is super cool. Angel DD666, Jesse, your common sense the best and cracks me up, including the charts. Yeah, well, it's like, why don't we look at those? And let's just do that real quick. So durable good orders month over month. So that's one number that we have. They're positive, right? This is a positive number. I like to see this. Again, this year we've had a couple of positive months, but these were just really low. You can see how the trend is like this. It looks like it's starting to go up. We really need some more data points for confirmation, but it looks good, and it's over the consensus of 3.7 and the forecast of 1.1. Good number. National Fed activity, I don't care about October, so let's go to November. This number went up a lot. Now, it's not an expansion, and again, let's go to a longer time frame. Longer time frames are always helpful. Let's just look here. So you can see how we've been really in a contractionary with Chicago Fed national activity since going back over here in October of 2022. So these things have been more red than positive for just a very long time. But again, we did a little bit better, I think. We got 0.04 for negative, but the forecast was 0.4. So we did better. We like that. Let's look here. Durable good orders, X transportation, 0.5%. They were expecting 0.3 or 0.5. So that's a little bit better. Goods X defense, month over month, November, 6.6% when you subtract out defense. That's actually great. 0.7% forecast. Let's see what that looks like. But a good number. We want to see this continue to go up. We want to see less negative days. These month over months, I just hate. They're such shitty charts. It's not my favorite. All right, X aircraft. So let's look here. So again, I don't know. I'd say this is a good trend. These are a lot of months of straight up. That's some good stuff. But it's going to be more interesting to see what the Dallas Fed manufacturing index for January, where we are right now. I'm kind of interested in that one to see what's happening. Again, this is something where if you go back 5 years, guys, just look at this. This is why I think people are very confused about what's happening in markets. You can see many charts where when gold tops when gold tops, guys, when people stop fearing the end of the world. That's when gold tops, right? That's when it's good. And when that happens, think about this, manufacturing. We know that Bitcoin follows the kind of like manufacturing cycle or the real estate cycle, right? If the real estate market's doing good and the manufacturing cycle's doing good on those charts, when we see that, we also see Bitcoin do well. Well, if manufacturing starts to turn around, look at this, guys. This is May of 2022. We've been basically red. I think we're starting to trend towards the positive, and I think you'll start to see that in Q1 and Q2 when the construction's done on all these manufacturing facilities and we start to really build out the manufacturing sector. Right now it's in construction, but when this starts to go up, gold will peak. And gold has been parabolic. It's almost near 5,100 right now. And again, are you shooting for 17% more, 5% more? I don't see the point in that. But this will recover. All the incentives are for this to recover. So what's it going to do? You show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. It's going to recover. And if they do a good job pulling down bond rates for mortgages, it will recover too. If we're in the 5s and then drop into the 4s, it's going to be fucking amazing. And I think all those things are coming. And so I'm going to bet on America every single time. Already saw that one. Already saw that one. Already saw that one. Let's keep going here. I think we're good on this. Oh, no, we do have a few good ones, though. Income sharks, when gold tops, the stock market rallies. We were just talking about this, right? There's the stock market bottom in 2000 and, well, one of them. He actually should have went back further in this chart, and I'm too lazy to pull it up. But if you look here, you can see where gold topped. Gold went down into a bear market for 9 years. While that happened, the stock market just went up. Right? That's what's going to happen again. Already looked at that. Demographics are destiny. So I just want to point out that the U.S., out of all these major developed countries, has one of the highest birth rates. Some of that's going to change a little bit with us deporting a bunch of people and kind of things realigning, but I think this is still going to happen. And again, compared to China at 1, China's worse than that. All their data is bullshit. We are doing really good. Demographically, China is set up for a very, very painful time. Worse than Japan. South Korea is worse than them, but I mean, they don't have anything going on there besides video games. All right, let's keep going. Latin America broke out. I think that's a really important thing to understand. Latin America, this is my thesis on this. I believe that as the Western Hemisphere becomes better and leans more towards the right, Brazil, I think Brazil, guys, I think Lula and all these bastards, I think that they're going to lose badly in the next election. And I think Brazil is probably one of the next countries to fall to the right. Colombia is too. They've got an election that's going to be coming up this year. I think Colombia is going to the right. I think Venezuela is going to the right. I think El Salvador obviously very much is. I think Argentina very much already is. And now we're seeing Chile looking to go too. They're transitioning into that right now. And you're going to see the entirety of the Western Hemisphere leaning towards us, including maybe Alberta, right? And then we've got our locations in Greenland. And guys, oh God, I always get the name wrong, but the one that the islands that Minnesota, or not Minnesota, the islands that the UK was going to give away to the native-born people that are aligned with the CCP in China, the Kagos. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. We're getting those. That's not happening. Keir Starmer backed away from that. And so we're getting all of the Western Hemisphere. Canada has no choice but to it's such a horrible analogy. I'm not going to use it. I'm trying to think of a better one. But Canada is going to have to do our bidding. It just is what it is, guys. You're America's hat. We can take it off at any time. Yeah, you're going to have to do our bidding. And all of Latin America is going to take off. The entire Western Hemisphere is ours. I hope you realize that sooner or later, even if you don't like it, even if you don't like Trump, even if you don't like America, I hope to God for your investments that you realize that we're going to do really well. Blue states in the image below and their electricity prices from Chamath. Again, just a reminder that liberal places get screwed because of their liberal policies. This is kind of interesting. So again, income sharks. He said you can buy gold before a crash or a crisis or panic, during the crash, crisis, or panic. But historically, if you're choosing it after it's gone parabolic, you're late. This is why most just end up hoarding it until they die. So September 11th, here. Housing market crash, here. Right? And this is gold versus the US dollar. So when the housing market finally hit the bottom, it was down here. It actually fell into that because people took it. People speculated on gold heading into the great financial crisis. And then when it started to happen, they started slowly selling their gold so that they could buy the dip, right? Because that's what they did. They made a bunch of money over here, and then they're like, I should change my gold for this. And then eventually the stock market stopped, and they stopped selling. But then as things were recovering, they were speculating that gold was still going to come back because some calamity was going to happen. Eventually, in 2011, they realized that the calamity was not happening, and they gave up on gold, and gold traded sideways to down 50% of the values of the peak, going all the way over here until eventually breaking higher at the start of the pandemic. And then it traded sideways again from the pandemic all the way across until about 2024, the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. So it's only in the last year or so where this thing's went parabolic, and now it's even higher than these numbers that we're looking at here. So buying now is insanity. I just want to say that. Eric Wow, an economic, just went on national television and admitted straight up that experts have been wrong. This is a good one. I want you to listen to it.
Economy at a rate 3% or faster, we're probably going to see an end to this dearth of jobs creation. We're going to do a lot better in terms of jobs creation, and that might well lead to quarters where we have the economy growing by at least 4%. I want to add that we economists were horribly wrong on the strength of the economy, especially in the second half of 2025. You know, many were looking for growth no faster than 1.5%. You point out 4.3% growth in the third quarter. We want to also consider the fact that real consumer spending at 3.5% was far better than what you would expect given this very sluggish pace of jobs creation. Very low jobless claims. That tells us companies may not be hiring, but they are not firing. They're not.
Yeah. So again, we're not hiring. We're not firing. I told you all this was going to happen. I told you tariffs wouldn't be a concern. I told you that they would cause an economic contraction. I told you that that economic contraction would need to be buoyed by incentives and pro-growth policies like printing money for every military person for 1776. Printing checks for $2,000 probably sometime this summer before election time for everybody that's in the lower to mid income cohorts, not people like myself. And that's fucking perfect. That's what you should do. And you're just going to see, and then again, all the pro-growth stuff, we don't need to go through the entire list. It's magnificent and huge. And so you're juicing the economy as much as you can, and you're incentivizing all the outcomes that you want. And in doing so, I told you that we were going to have a boost, and we're doing that, right? We didn't have the high inflation. We're getting the boost. We're getting it at a time where we're seeing deflation, and I said all that fucking shit, and now it's happening. Copper. Yeah, copper. That is a play. People have been talking about it a lot lately. Let me see. There's a couple of charts that I saw. I didn't save them because I didn't really want to focus on metals, but maybe I can find one real quick and we can go over it. This one. So demand is forecast to outstrip supply by a wide margin. The thing I want you to notate on this forecast for source S&P Global is that here, by 2030, it shows supply and demand. Demand is still going to be going up, prediction-wise, still going to be going up, but supply is rolling over. And I think we're starting to see some of that pulling forward with demand right now. And I do think that it goes higher, but I'm just really reluctant when I believe we're at a peak or really near to a peak on gold and silver and platinum and all these other metals that have skyrocketed a ton based on speculation that the world is coming to an end. Because that's what you do, right? Let me just show you this again real quick. And commodities, again, are getting dragged higher. But I want to sort by metals and just show you what this looks like, okay? This is insane. Silver, 263% year over year. Platinum, 200%. Lithium, 133. Gold, 85. Copper. So I just want to reiterate that we're in an economy where we're seeing slowing demand. Slowing demand. Not for energy. Energy is very much needed. Electrical components are needed. So again, there are real demands for like silver. I don't know how much platinum is needed for all the things that are going on. Lithium, I think all these things there's going to be demand because we're incentivizing growth to consume energy. So is China. It's a huge fight. They're doing more than us. We're playing catch up. We're also trying to work with securing resources for precious metals and things of that nature that might be needed for defense. Anything like that, there's going to be additional demand. And I do think copper can be drug up by that too. I'm just not sure where it is in the cycle, and I cannot speak to it right now. If I feel like I'm smart enough to understand what the copper demand, I'll talk to it. But I can tell you that at least that one hasn't run as hard, right? If we just look over here, let's see, we can go further. This is starting a breakout. It's probably a better buy at like 5, but at 6, one could reasonably assume this could go higher. I don't know enough about the market right now to be able to honestly say anything about that. But one could assume that it is. But I can tell you, like with gold and silver, man, they're reaching a peak. When you have people paying a 12x premium for silver and spot in China, something is fundamentally fucked up. And don't get me wrong, it could skyrocket another, like maybe silver goes up 100% because some crazy shit happens in China and we get another little pump out of it. But if it does that, it'll probably go up 3x what Bitcoin's market cap is in a very short period of time. So just imagine this. Metals usually go first. Bitcoin and silver go first, and then Bitcoin goes. If these things go up higher, then you just got to adjust your goals for Bitcoin going up for targets because they will. I did want to correct this, though. So I love Income Sharks, but he said gold buying happens after the crisis or the crash. You can't not say that. It's not true. If you look, again, speculation happened well before the 2008 great financial crisis. I put that time frame in this red box. That is the GFC time frame where everything started to fall apart in the stock market. There was a pause in gold's purchases, and then again it went up a lot as the market started to crash, but eventually peaked, and then people started to switch over to stocks. So, and then speculation came afterwards. Again, during the great financial crisis, while the stock market, when it was kind of hitting its bottom, people started buying gold again. And then even after the bottom was hit, right here, this arrow, this is the bottom of the stock market, guys. This was a huge drop, the great financial crisis. People bought gold for years. Again, they bought gold for another 2.5 years after that. But here's the thing. After the great financial crisis, gold was like at 1,000 at the very bottom of the great financial crisis. And then by the time we got to 2012, yeah, it went up 85%, but you could have had stocks that went up 10x, 20x over that time. So you missed 10 or 20x's to get a 70, 80% thing, and then it traded sideways for 13 years. So, I don't know. I don't love it. Yeah, if you guys want to talk leaps to each other, feel free. You guys can do that. The American economy grew 44 times as much as the UK economy last quarter. Britain needs radical change. Are you seeing similarities here between like Canada and all of Europe versus what's happening in the United States? Geiger Capital, just 100 years ago, England was the greatest empire the world had ever seen. 25% of the Earth's land. A few generations later, they've deindustrialized, welfare zone, unable to stop third world immigrants from coming over on rubber boats. Says a lot. All right, let's hop out of this one. Let's go over to Bitcoins. You got some Cypher 40 leaps. Oh, you guys are big in the leaps again. You know what? If you're going to do it, man, I feel like now is probably the time. I'm not touching it. Cypher's up 0.34% in pre-market. Iron's down by about that much. It's pretty flat. But like, yeah, these hyperscaler type plays for energy, the Bitcoin miner ones, are doing good. Market seems to be down to flat. It doesn't look... Let me look at the pre-market and bring this over. Here we are. You can hear my daughter walking around upstairs. So pre-market, again, it's down, but not a crazy amount. I don't know. I think people are de-risking from Tesla for the earnings. They're trying to figure out what's happening with that. So, yeah, there's probably maybe a little more downside price action in that. We're not quite in the breakout zone. I can show that chart in a little bit. But again, not crazy. Yep, just reiterating the support line. Let's see here. Julian Hosp, what a dipshit. This guy used to be big into Bitcoin back in 2016, 17. He made some shit coins that didn't go anywhere. Now he says Bitcoin is dying. What a fucking loser. But small cap Sniper notated how we're in the support zone. This is actually without log. So the gap's a little bit different with log, but you can see without log and linear scale, you can see how the move already for like what's happened with Bitcoin here versus gold is dramatic. It's dramatic. We're probably closer to the bottom than the top. Jesse, can you check Lays? I don't know what that is, but I can look at it. If you can tell me more about it, I can do that. Don't hold breath on Alberta becoming independent. Would the loss collapse the rest of the country and clamp down on them occur? No. How are they going to get clamped on? If they want freedom, we've already indicated from a presidential level and the Treasury Secretary, that we would support Alberta and separating from Canada. And their own constitution gives them the ability to be able to do these things, right? This is how it works. They have the ability to be able to decide if they want to vote on it and then vote on it and then do it. And it's a slow process, but no, I think it's very much underway. And from what I'm seeing in the lines for petitioning, I think they're going to win it. I think they're going to win it. I mean, I could see liberals wanting to leave the state, and I could see conservatives wanting to move to it. And I could see conservatives wanting to move to it just to vote for this stuff. But no, I think it's going to happen. We're going to support them. And is Canada going to go to war with us? They did a check to see how long they'd last. I think it was 2 days, but I think that was assuming that we would take a day off. The Bitcoin therapist, Saylor is basically absorbing the entire outflow of ETFs now on a weekly basis. It's true. And we bought more, 2,600 or whatever it was. Awesome. Once in a lifetime valuation, it just shows global liquidity. Bitcoin oscillation, gold oscillation, and then BTC to gold oscillation. And what it's telling you is that Bitcoin is really low, gold is really high. Again, this is the highest RSI on gold since 1968. I'm sure most of you were not alive or were just babies when that was the case. This is a generational shift that you're getting ready for, and it's going into Bitcoin. Ethereum is following Wyckoff to the letter. It's perfect representation. We've got Income Sharks, again, just showing, well, in this one, Noti Macro posting to it, showing, nobody liked this one, 14. Nobody cares. Everybody hates Bitcoin. Perfect time to buy it. It's showing the support zones over here. Again, I think this is linear, but it does show you how we're near a support zone right now. And again, just showing the gold and Bitcoin ratios here. So you can see where when gold tops, starts going sideways, Bitcoin takes off. Gold tops, starts going sideways, Bitcoin takes off. Gold has not topped, but when it does and it starts going sideways, what do you think Bitcoin's going to do? The same thing. Here's Ethereum compared to gold. You can see what happened with gold. That's going to happen with Ethereum. Big numbers ahead. I think BMNR is going to be a great choice for that. And this is network activity, transaction on Ethereum's network. Thank you, Tom Lee. It's exploding. This is a good sign. Ondo is a layer 2 with Ethereum, and it has some of those similar results. Market cap, 770 million, cash on hand. Enterprise value, discount, closed, 200 month funding, 26 premium. Balance sheet is now a fortress with 5+ years of runway. What do they do? Like, what's the like couple sentences for the company, like what they do and why they're separate from the rest? Some people worry about this. It's possible. I just don't see it. But again, I'm reducing margin. So that if this happens, I'm wiping that out pretty much. And so I don't have to worry about it. And just wanted to throw this out there for all the Bitcoin treasury holding companies. Again, Metaplanet, if you look here, the price levels here, when you look at this, the cumulative returns, it shows that you end up finding a floor that's higher. You know, you end up finding the floor, what was a 3x MNAV multiplier versus what their Bitcoin assets were, is now a 1 for 1. So the floor, you end up finding the floor higher, right? And then you end up going up even more. And oh yeah, here's that post from Quentin. Silver added $1.5 trillion of market cap in 23 days. Bitcoin is only 1.8 trillion. So just saying again that basically in 23 days, and I'm sorry, it wasn't a week, 23 days, Bitcoin, the entire market cap of Bitcoin was added to silver. And it's higher than that now. Pure play hardware post on quantum cryptography supercycle. That's such an area I don't know anything about. The Moat software is easy, hardware is hard. QC 7001 chips creates defensible moat against software-only competitors. Okay. That's good. I probably need to learn a lot about that. Inflation-adjusted BTC monthly. So previous highs, their support, we're going up. Don't go, babe. Gold moves first, then Bitcoin. I love that. Again, just looking at the OBV, that's what Income Sharks likes to use. He's good at finding bottoms. He's really good on timing. He's saying we're in one, and we found the bottom. He's also showing how Ethereum consolidates before it breaks out. And again, this is me calling the bottom here too from the Bitcoin to gold ratio, just saying, looking at it from a different perspective, but including the uptrend, I think this is what's happening. And we are really close to this right now. So maybe it oscillates a little bit more and then it goes. Here's another way of looking at gold and Ethereum. Again, just showing the move that will come. There's a bunch of other things in here. We've looked at a lot of them. Let's see, AI on chips. Micron, only 30% of memory chips made in 2026 will be available for non-data center market. They're given less than a third of the like graphic card type memory chips for the rest of the market. Otherwise, it's all data center shit. Brutal but bullish for Micron. Let me remind you that just bought a $1.8 trillion Taiwan fab for an extra revenue and profit so that they can speed shit up. And on that same note, this is the facility that's being built for Micron. This is just one, guys. When I tell you, when I went to South Padre, I couldn't believe the facilities for LNG that were getting built out in real time. Everywhere along the way, guys, there's just building happening all across America. So you better be bullish. Look at this one facility for Micron in America. Look at this. Just look at this. This is nuts. I'm going to speed it up. Just look at this. This is happening all over America. All over America. This shit is happening. And you're bearish, America. Fucking A, dude. AI infrastructure could triple to $1.4 trillion. Look at this graph here showing forecasts. I think this is Bloomberg, BlackRock. And just look at what we're looking at for forecasts for hyperscalers. Not bearish. Look at H100 rental prices, guys, since Claude 4.5 Opus launch. Look at the rental costs. They went from like 2.3. They're climbing quickly. I could see the rentals picking up even more. That's going to be great for the Irons, the Clean Sparks, and the Cyphers, and all the others. Anduril will invest $1 billion into a 1.2 million square foot Long Beach facility. This is just fucking insane. There's so much going on. There's so much going on. It's just nuts. Micron stock price raised January 23rd to $500 from $350. So people need all the memory. Manufacturing companies are becoming some of the biggest companies in the world again, which is fucking great. Yeah, OpenAI sucks. Stay away from it. Chart of the day. Agentic coding accelerating app releases. This is cool. Tools like Repit and Claude Code are turbocharging the capabilities of high agency creators. Really incredible to see the output in this chart. So release of agentic coding is skyrocketing. Look at these percentages year over year. Nuts. Really cool stuff. Oh, it was great. I'll have to check it out. Sorry, my throat is killing me right now. I might have to, we'll see how much longer I can go here. I just wanted to point this out, guys. There's so much division politically. Just remember this. Remember that Minneapolis, where the chaos is going, it might have a large population, but the rest of the state is not blue. The vast majority is red. And so just remember that, and this is like every state in the country. So there's a very different reality to the people that live in these cities that are more violent and dangerous and just wilder, right? More like the Wild West. And then the people that are living in these rural areas, they've got very different views of the world. And the truth is somewhere in the middle. Jesse, if we continue to go up over the next few months, will you look to buy any puts for additional hedge? Yeah, I probably will. I don't know if there'll be puts. But yeah, I probably will. Just because you always will have, I agree with Tom Lee. I think there's going to be volatility in the markets. That's something they've been saying for a while. But again, earnings are doing great. 77% beats, a little bit lower than what we had before, but people are still, I mean, it's by a median of 6%. It's really, the earnings are great. I want to remind you that deportations, there were 12.5 million under Clinton. There were 10.3 under Bush. There were 5.2 under Obama, and there are 1.5 under Donald Trump. So just remember that right now, Bill Clinton had about 10x the deportations that Donald Trump had, and Barack is at about 3x. A little over 3x, 3.5x. So I don't know why all of a sudden we care about deportations. It seems manufactured to me. You guys be the judges for yourself. We do have an historic summit. Nobody's talking about this. There's a lot of things that people don't talk about. All 34 Western Hemisphere militaries are convening on February 11th. Western Hemisphere, that's interesting. General Dan Kane just called the first ever full assembly of military leaders for every nation in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, so that's fascinating. AOC told us in 2019 that the world was going to end in 12 years, and so we only have 6 years left because of climate change, guys. So, and I'm pretty sure we had other people telling us that the world was going to end way before that. California treats illegals better than citizens, so this is just letting you know that, again, just that you could not get free dental care if you're a U.S. citizen, but you get it if you're an illegal. Just bullshit. Here is December of 2020, where Bill Barr called investigations looking into Jesse Morgan's claim of fraud, hundreds of thousands of completed mail-in ballots hauled across state lines, to stand down. I told you need to stand down on this.
Us and about 6 or 7 other people were able to hear that conversation.
So, again, the elections have been stolen for years, or at least attempts at it, by people that are willing to let people go who commit crimes. And again, 400 Medicaid businesses sitting in this location, across from the guy that got shot this weekend. That's sad. I actually feel bad for the guy. I watched a video of him. He seems like he was really upset about people getting deported back to the countries where they came from. That was very upsetting for him. Again, this was a completely normal thing for decades, but now it was upsetting. He brought a weapon with 2 mags to go protest. He stood in front of the vehicles and kept the ICE officers from moving. They got out. They pushed a lady to get her out of the way, and then he was grabbing her, and then things got weird, and I don't know if he was pulling out a gun or if somebody thought he was. It looked like one of the officers was grabbed his gun and was taking it away when another one thought that he was reaching behind his back to grab the gun that was there a minute ago. Maybe there were mags still showing, and he shot him. And when one cop unloads, they all do. This is what happens, man. They're taught, when they're taught that somebody is a threat, and that threat is the gunshot, they eliminate it. They eliminate the threat. And so people are talking about, oh my God, they executed him. He had a gun. He went to a protest with a gun and then wrestled and fought with officers. He should have immediately given up and said, and let them arrest him. I would have done that immediately. I would have said, hey, just a warning, I got a gun, arrest me. I would have put my arms behind my back. I would have assumed the position immediately. And I also wouldn't have went to a protest with guns, because the only way I would have done that is knowing that I was ready to die, because I was thinking that I was going to have to use that weapon. I would never bring a weapon for show to a place to brandish it in front of officers that are trying to do their job and telling me to get away. I would never do that. And so I never have to worry about getting shot in those situations. I feel bad for the guy. I wish he wouldn't have died. But it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. And I don't think that should slow down ICE at all in what they're doing. You can see videos where somebody got their finger bit off, the end of their finger, one of the ICE officers. You can see more recently, last night, I just posted a video that showed this. And I'm probably almost done here for today anyway. So if anybody wants to bail, you can certainly do that. But I showed a video of some of the craziness. Look at this guy. This guy was by himself. He's bleeding. There's blood all over the place. He's been fighting off these assholes right here. Listen to this. He's by himself trying to protect this hotel that they're stationed at. He's bleeding from his mouth and his hands.
I'm fine. Are you okay? I'm fine. Says he's all right. He's all right. Where's the local PD? That's my question for the press. Okay. Where is the local PD?
He's bleeding. He's been hit. His hands are all bleeding, and he's fighting off these fucking assholes. And here he is again. There's no fucking police anywhere. No fucking police anywhere. So I say just put in the Insurrection Act. You need to take Minneapolis back. Minneapolis is an incredibly violent city. I go there every year. It's only getting worse. The BLM stuff just made it worse. They burnt down blocks of that motherfucker all over the place, and in the suburbs too. And it's just a shithole. It's an utter fucking shithole. And it makes me sad because my wife was raised there as a kid. And I'd like to see it turn into a better place in the future. This shouldn't be happening. And we need to support these people who have been doing their job for decades. ICE isn't a new thing that we just invented. They do their job for decades. And then now they have to deal with this bullshit. So I'm in full support of them. And if you're going to get shot and get killed, 2 people now? You can maybe argue that there's been 4 across the entire operation. I'm sorry that happened. I can feel empathy towards the person who died and think that they shouldn't have. And maybe it was a mistake in the officer. I can believe all those things. I don't give a fuck. We're gonna keep doing our jobs. I hope eventually, I think what's gonna happen eventually is we're gonna dial back some of the deportations to really focus on criminals and then say that we won't pick up anybody who isn't. But we still have to do this. We have to keep doing this, and we need to be stronger. If they want to fight, we need to give it to them. And with Antifa rolling in with guns, there's going to be a bunch of that happening. It's going to be more of a fight here in the not too distant future because these guys are coming, right? These cunts right here, the anti-fascists, they're all coming. I had a friend who told me that Antifa wasn't a thing, so it's good to know. But this is stupid. We shouldn't have these fucking idiots taking over 4-block radiuses of a city. Here's the National Guard. What are they doing? They're there to give protesters donuts and coffee. That's what they're doing. That's what the Minnesota National Guard is doing. They're helping these guys have their no-go zones for the feds, and they're giving them coffee and then making, look at this. This guy's acting like there's like the government is coming to destroy the city of Minneapolis, and they're saying these things, and they're encouraging violence and telling people that they need to be militant against this administration. And it's gonna get more violent. Those things will happen. I mean, look at this guy right here. Listen to this. This is what they sound like.
Fucking shoot me in the fucking head, you cowards! You're fucking cowards! I'm right here! Fucking kill me! Fucking shoot!
This is totally rational, right? It's totally normal to feel that way about stuff and to spread those kind of things. We are getting ready. And again, this is Minneapolis, guys. This is just fucking insane. There's like a four block area that's cordoned off. They built fences around it and put garbage cans, and like, this is just insanity. Look at this. Death to America. Kill ICE. This is the shit. This is what these people believe. Okay? This is what these people believe in this area. And this is the guy. This is the guy who got shot.
The young man, 13-year-old, handcuffed by ICE, his father taken away. I arrived there as soon as I could. I talked to some of the family members. It's devastating. And I don't know, just going home and talking to my kids about what happened. And
this guy, he's not a bad guy, man. He's got a lot of empathy. You can see it. I think it's completely misguided. But again, when you get people incredibly emotional, when you tell them, Tim Walz has literally told people that they're going door to door looking for colored people. He's literally said that. So if you're some liberal bleeding heart and you hear that and you think that every person they're taking away is a good person that should be here, and you're ignoring the crimes and the rapes and the murders and whatever else they've done. You don't even care about that. You're just, you get so militant. And this is sad. His death is sad. I know who I blame for it, though. But, yeah, I just want to show, let me see here. What else we got? See if there's anything else. Oh, in case you don't know Minnesota very well, this is a guy that worked for Governor Tim Walz that murdered the one lawmaker who was trying to investigate the fraud. I think it was in 2025 he had her murdered, or could have, because his appointee murdered her. He came there and murdered her. Why? Why did that happen? How did we memory hold this fucking shit? There is no law in Minneapolis. They didn't even come to help this guy who's bleeding. They don't come to help individuals that are bleeding too if they're on the wrong side of the argument. They don't help these people. And then we have shit like that. It's fucking insane. Look at this. This is Minnesota. This is a 4-block radius. Mexican flags. Antifa. And again, that video that I played you earlier from people that say that immigrants should come in and rule the border. Immigrants should manage the border, not us. This lady worked for the mayor of, what was it, fucking Atlanta? Jesus. It's just insanity. This is all just so crazy. It blows my mind. This guy right here is the police chief. He's the police chief in Minnesota, or in Minneapolis, right? What does he say? What does he say? He says that here, I'll let you don't have to listen to me. 1 second.
From what you have seen in the public
Listen to
space
this.
and
This
heard
is insane.
from federal officials, is there any evidence that you know of that Preddy was assaulting the federal officers as the Border Patrol chief claims?
Well, I've seen the videos just as thousands of people around the country have, and the videos speak for themselves.
What does that even mean? This is a person who's supposed to be in the police department. Let's just ignore that, though.
I think it's deeply concerning, the things that are being said. This is an individual that was a city resident. It appears that he was present, exercising his First Amendment rights to record law.
Keep in mind that Democrats in liberal states all across the country didn't like Kyle Rittenhouse, the person who brought a weapon to a protest. They wanted to make it illegal for people to bring weapons to protests because of the danger that's involved. And I actually agree it's dangerous, and that Kyle Rittenhouse probably shouldn't have had like an AR-15 at a fucking protest, even though I think it was the other guy's fault for a lot of the stuff that happened. But now all of a sudden, they're like, hey, man, executing that Second Amendment right. Democrats love and support that, right?
Enforcement activity, and also exercising his Second Amendment rights to lawfully be armed in a public space in the city.
You got to hear what he says.
So I think very obviously there are serious questions that are being raised. And I think the greater issue is, even if there is an investigation that ultimately proves that at the time of the shooting it was legally justified, I don't think that even matters at this point.
What the fuck does that mean? So even if we have an investigation and we confirm that it was legally justified, that they ended up killing him and shooting him, it doesn't matter. This is coming from a police, the head of the police, the chief of police for Minneapolis, doesn't think that the law actually matters. It's sentiment that matters.
Because they're just...
Listen to this lady. She doesn't even know what to fucking say.
There is so much outrage and concern around what is happening in the city.
What do you mean it doesn't matter at this point? You mean...
And then she fills in an answer for him. But what does he mean by that? Again, here's the Gestapo tracking people. Listen to this. This is Cam Higbee. He was listening to a video literally where they're tracking him. And listen to these Gestapo motherfuckers. They decided they didn't like these people, and listen to how they treat them. One of them's black, too, by the way.
Not ICE. Why are you guys following us?
Look at this.
And they leave, like, right when we get out of the car.
They were into the Signal app.
We're following them because they were following us.
No? You look suspicious as fuck. Are you?
Wait, so should people follow and harass any suspicious-looking person?
I'm harassing you. Get out of here.
Why are you guys following us?
Because you're fucking ICE.
We're not ICE.
Oh, and they... Not ICE! Not in a nice vehicle, right?
No.
Right, get in your truck and get the fuck out.
Why?
Because you need to go. Confirmed ICE.
We're not ICE.
Yeah, same to the people that you're abducting. Get out.
We're not because we're being followed. They're following us, and they came up.
This is the way you get treated now. Do you want to go to Minneapolis? Anybody want to go to Minneapolis?
Okay.
Go to the airport.
We don't want people following us.
Go to the airport.
And hurting us when we get home.
They're not going to hurt you. They're going to stay right behind you. They're going to stay right
all
behind
the way
you.
back to where we're staying, right?
Great.
Yeah, no, we don't want that.
So they literally want to track U.S. citizens that aren't ICE so that they can get people to harass them and assault them. And they've done that too. They've actually beat all kinds of people. Here's one of the ICE protesters pretending like he's press. He's got 2 felony charges for shaking his own child. He got 2 years probation. Again, probation for doing that. Again, here's rioters attacking ICE. This is Minneapolis. They don't show you this ever. They don't show you this ever. And then like these lunatics, somebody put this on his face.
Speaking, if we were all just fed up with watching slaughter in our streets and
they turned him into the Joker, right? But with some effects. But like, look, just the craziness of what. Imagine doing your job for 20 years and then having to deal with this bullshit. I'm amazed that they handled themselves as well as they do. And this is the Guard in Minnesota, but to protect these Gestapo crazy motherfuckers in these areas. And again, you already listened to the lunatic over here, but there's people literally getting assaulted all the time from this. And it's crazy. These are people, look at this. These are people that are directing traffic, just regular citizens. There's no police. And then here's the setup. Look at this. They got food, crackers. They brought barrels. I saw there were images, guys. Look at this, all the drinks and stuff. There were images of the barrels that were brought in. There were pallets of wood so that they could burn them, so that they could stay here. This was almost instantly. Look at this. Here's some BLM black dudes trying to beat the shit out of this guy who's just doing reporting stuff. But they identified him. The Gestapo identified him as being an ICE supporter. And so now people are tracking him and they're assaulting him and pulling him out of their cars and beating them. This is the kind of shit that's happening right now in Minnesota. And there's no police. The police will not help you. It's crazy what's going on right now. And look at this. These are people, spotters on rooftops. Look at this shit. And this isn't far away from where I am. Look at this. They're shutting down the airport. They're just destroying Minneapolis. But rest assured, I don't think that that's going to help them. I don't think it's going to help their cause. I will try and do more charts next time. My throat is killing me right now. But I'm going to try and do more charts next time. I do promise. And maybe I'll do a special show in between. But I am very bullish. I think that gold will top. I think China's falling apart. I think the Japanese yen is going to be just fine. I think the 10-year is going to end up rolling over some more. I think the markets are going to do better. There might be some fear of a government shutdown, but just look long term, guys. Just look long term, and you'll do better. All right, love you guys. Peace out. Take it easy, and I will talk to you later.